Torri a Zoom Bilbao 21, Zoom Bilbao 21, ¿vale? Me llamo Fernando.
So I'm Fernando Tubiraga. I'm the manager of the Mobility and Logistics Cluster, and to me it's a great pleasure to collaborate with Zoom Bilbao, this parallel event where we will have a look at progress technologies in the world of mobility, sustainable mobility, and smart mobility. As I've told you, I'm the manager of the Logistics and Mobility Cluster. We have 114 partners. We are 14% of Basque Country GDP, and our partners invest 3.8% in innovation. This means that we are very involved association in the innovation process. We've chosen the Pecha Kucha format in order to be straightforward, in order to be practical, in order to be able to embrace as many proposals as possible. As you know, the Pecha Kucha format is a 20 slides format maximum per speaker and 6 minutes 40 seconds maximum per speaker. So let's try to stick to time. So I would like all the speakers to be agile and to go to the nitty-gritty. And without further ado, let's give the floor to our first speaker. That would be Estíbaliz Barañano. He is the manager and partner of Asimov. And her speech is called Digital Transformation in Urban Ways. Estíbaliz, you have the floor. Egunon, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much. And when I have the presentation, I guess that it's ready. No. Time is not, it's not going by, no worries. Okay. So, there we are. So, we are in a digitalization process that has been accelerated by the pandemic. Cities are have not been set aside, and they are doing this with the citizens. They are digitalizing processes. They're monitoring fleets and progressing in this process that, where companies also participate. Regarding mobility, we've seen nowadays this digitalization process in new ways of mobility, like car sharing, micromobility, different apps. And in almost every mid to big cities, we have a monitored traffic management system on real time with cameras, panels, etc. And the assets of the city have been digitalized on databases where we store and we keep every asset. So among these assets, we have the traffic signs. Traffic signs are the most typical elements for highways in order to warn the wheel traffic. In Bilbao, for example, we could have around 12,000 signs, and in a big city, like for example Madrid, we could be speaking about hundreds of thousands. We consider them as semi-static elements that don't change over time. But if we have a close look, every time there are civil works, every time there's a sports event, a music event or similar, every time that an accident happens, the city signs have to be reordered and have to change. Or when the municipality decides to reorder the traffic, these signs change too. And we need to add the fact that the signs are degraded, they suffer vandalism, vegetation sometimes covers them, and all these signs are reviewed by hand. There's someone that goes around the city having a look at the signs, and when there's something that goes wrong, he notes it down, and he sends a report so that this sign is revamped. So cities have stock campaigns on a regular basis because it's taken for granted that what we have in the digitalized database does not match reality after some months or years have gone by. These are very cumbersome campaigns, very slow campaigns that are done by hand and are later on digitalized on the database. And we shouldn't forget that having bad signs is dangerous. This signs are something that we take for granted until an accident happens and there's a victim. If we want to have 0 victims, to keep roads in a good status, in a good situation, it's essential to go towards that goal of 0 victims and 0 accidents. In SE1, we propose a solution for the digitalization of this monitoring, with a flexible and light solution based on a data compilation system, processing, and user interface. In order to compile these data, we use light devices, commercial devices that can be installed at any vehicle. And these devices will capture video and data from the road where and when it's deemed necessary. So this compilation and this data sending is totally automated so that it doesn't bother someone that is driving it. It will be someone belonging to the municipality. These data are analyzed on the cloud. This is where we use our AI models in order to detect every element that is essential to maintain both roads and streets. In SE1, we think that maintenance deserves its own AI, and we have created it. And these results that we take with this AI analysis are shown to the maintenance team at the traffic headquarters or at the office, with different screens, with lists, maps, situation of the environment, and well, this really helps us keep all these maintenance tasks. AI doesn't get tired, doesn't get distracted, and does not forget about anything. This is why we think that it's the great complement to help us with these visual monitoring with the inspectors. So this monitoring would not depend on the memory or the attention of the person that is supervising, because AI will systematically review as frequent as it is deemed necessary the signs that the city has. Maintenance is something necessary in every city, and it is essential if we want to reduce the number of accidents. That's why what we propose is not only digitalizing the stock registry, but also to take a further step in this digital transformation and to digitalize the data compilation system and the decision support system for the maintenance. Up to now, we have only taken this step in order to digitalize the registry. We need to move towards a more complete digitalization to take advantage of the available technologies, the current technologies that any city of any size can take advantage of. In SE1, this is our philosophy: practical solutions, flexible solutions to help any city in the maintenance. And this was my presentation. I think that I didn't run out of time. I hope that I've been able to convey the need of all technologies and with the most mediocre tasks that are really necessary. And we have these foundations that we can use to build different functionalities of the city. Thank you.
Muchas gracias a ti, Estíbaliz, por tu intervención. Damos paso al...
Thank you, Estíbaliz. We give the floor to the next speaker, will be Gabriela Seco, who works in operations and marketing in Atura, and her speech will be about the mobile apps accessibility. So, Gabriela, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Bueno, queremos aprovechar este altavoz para hablar de...
So we want to speak about inclusion and mobile accessibility. 3 years ago, we were awarded with a tender to revamp Euskotren, and since then, this has been a great milestone in innovation, and we are every day learning. Sometimes we think about car parks, lifts, transport. We see this from a physical point of view, but we see that the city is transforming and it's adapting to people. This summer, I found out a campaign that really called my attention. It was really eye-catching. It was from Aena, but we don't see planes. We only see people interacting with a mobile device. When I saw this campaign, I took a picture and I said, hey, I think that we are doing a good job. It seems that this is the way of doing things. When we speak about accessibility, we need to think of inclusivity. It's not only language. Inclusive is any phenomenon that happens in life. If we break an arm, if we have a baby buggy, if we have reduced visibility, well, we have different contexts where this could happen. And the cell phone is a great ally or great friend. We do absolutely everything with our cell phone. We buy tickets, we have a look at timetables, we read our email, we use working apps. Have we ever wondered how people with different needs use the cell phone? Elderly people, blind people, anything you could think of. If we tried to manage our cell phone with our eyes closed, we would live in person a different way to interact with the mobile phone. But this doesn't happen to everybody. Around 10% of the world population has some kind of disability. This has to do with the aging of the population, and well, the information is not very much positive. The cell phone is used, but many people have boundaries because they don't find a device that should be adapted. We do not realize about what we have not built, about the barriers that we've built in the digital world. In web environments, this has been done for many years, accessibility, I mean, but thanks to this regulation that has come into force short ago, now we'll speak about dates, we can see every instruction that we need to know in order to develop accessibility in the digital world, and specifically on a cell phone, focused on public administration and subsidized projects. If you search on Google ICT accessibility requirements, you will find data, you will find dates, and you will find the requirements that you will need at the Accessibility Observatory by the electronic administration. So having a look at these dates, although they have all gone by, we need to quote them. On the 23rd, this regulation came into force. On the 16th of July, there was an official template that allowed us to do this checking that is necessary for apps, and since 20th of September, it's mandatory that every app has it already implemented. Have we fulfilled it? Let's ask that. Android and iOS are much better than us. I don't know if you found this option, accessibility. Maybe you can zoom in the text, but maybe the other people haven't used it. There are many other apps that are for people that have specific needs because they have a reduced visibility. You find volunteers with people that have a low visibility through a video call, etc. So technology is at people's disposal once again. But there's another milestone, and this is the majority of people that could access and use these apps. So for this app to be or to work correctly, to develop it correctly, we need a great analysis, design, development, and a lot of caress that we need to put when executing these projects. Let's speak about 5 characteristics. First of all, we have easy reading. I've put this picture, but I really wanted to speak about the bill of light or the cell phone bill, because in the end, what matters is what you pay. You need to understand the information that you have in your cell phone. For example, we have the color contrast. I don't know if you are a little bit dizzy with this image, if it's a little bit confusing, and sometimes maybe you've had this problem when interacting with an app. You can't read the text. The colors, both in normal and dark mode, are not there randomly. They require analysis so that this contrast is correct. Thirdly, we have the hierarchy of information and the elements that we have on every screen. All these buttons, these arrows, icons, everything that you can see that we have naturalized, if they're not very well conceived, they can be a little bit chaotic. They can make you leave that session. And we have the voice reproducers or players that usually are used by blind people that are interacting with the cell phone. They read not what we are seeing, but what it is in the guts. What you can't see is what that player reads. So if that's not well built, we will have failed. That fifth characteristic is the horizontal mode. I don't know if you found this need of turning the cell phone and it doesn't turn, because it's not prepared for that, but there are people on wheelchairs or in working contexts where they need this horizontal mode. So the effort that we make in developing apps is an improvement for everybody, both for public administration and for private companies. And everybody that can contribute on this project, well, it will be for everybody's improvement. Mobility without accessibility is not sustainable over time. Thank you. Eskerrik asko, Gabriela, thank you. Now we'll have Carola Vega, who is an innovation consultant and mobility consultant in Factival. Carola is going to speak about micro-incentives and its impact on urban mobility. So Carola, you have the floor. Hello, good morning, everybody. I am Carola Vega. Thank you very much for the invitation. And today I want to introduce the concept of micro-incentives in mobility and our platform Rideal that allows us to manage, control, and follow up micro-incentive programs in an easy way, and focus on the user. First of all, we are Cater Mobility Factory. We are a joint company between Factual, consultancy agency based in Barcelona, specialized in mobility, and Waterdog, a technology company that is based in Portugal that develops technological solutions of last generation. And our goal is to develop innovative solutions that are able to redesign the mobility ecosystem in a sustainable way. And this is what we are going to speak about, sustainable mobility. But if we see the European cities, although they have invested and launched initiatives to improve the model sharing and to reduce emissions, some recent reports by the EC say that there has not been a significant reduction in private car usage, but the gas emissions due to road transport have been steadily increasing. So how can we move towards a more sustainable mobility? We think that just betting on software or vehicles, new vehicles and better vehicles is not enough. We agree with some researchers that point out that the behavioral science and its potential are very important, and they say that it's important to have financial investments to migrate users from the private vehicle to more sustainable transport. In this context, I would like to introduce the concept of micro-incentives and our Rideal solution. Historically, mass transit has followed just one size for everybody, and as its name says, it's a mass solution that doesn't fit with every case, and there are some gaps, but we didn't have solutions that could give an efficient answer to these developments or to these challenges, so to speak. Today we know that solutions have to be more adapted and focused on the user. The subsidies are being given for many years in public transport. In fact, they are based on subsidies, but they can be divided in small parts, micro-subsidies that can be applied in a more granular and directed way. One of the main examples of the use of incentives is the city of Amberes, of Antwerp. Antwerp has been able to reduce the percentage of private vehicles in its model sharing, and one of the reasons for its success has been the implementation of incentives programs to promote more sustainable ways of transport. Thanks to these policies, Antwerp is facing a new challenge, that is managing all these incentives programs that generate a great administration burden. And what challenges do we have in the incentives program? Well, to incentivize in mobility is not something new. But up to now, the incentives programs were developed through contracts between a public entity or a private entity with transport services suppliers, one by one. But although this kind of contract can be beneficial, it's also really rigid. It requires an important administration effort. It does not offer a centralized control of every incentives program that could be managed, and it only allows us to have simple solutions that reduce the impact that these incentives could have, and it's very difficult to scale up. So how can we make the incentives programs be more scalable and more focused on results that could generate a real impact to transform our mobility ecosystem? Here is where our RIDEAL solution gets its place. It is a back-end platform that allows both public and private entities to manage every incentive program, to be able to generate individual programs or joint programs. Through the platform, both private and public entities can access every transport services suppliers that are operating at a specific area. This allows companies to launch programs with more robust offers, and we have the possibility of having a more flexible management. It's independent to the supplier, and it's focused and addressed to face the specific needs of the population where we are working. How does RIDEAL work? Our customers have access to many people, and they define criteria and regulations, and it implements logic so that cities or companies can apply micro-incentives to any target group. This could be general public, circumstances, ways of transport, etc. at a specific area, at a specific geographic area. On the other hand, the RIDEAL API can be easily integrated in every mobility as a service platform or transport service provider, what makes us independent from the provider and flexible to be able to answer in an agile way to the changing needs of our customers. As you can see, we do not interact with the final users. The end users access the micro-incentive programs or receive these programs through their favorite app. That could be the one that is being used in that moment. So to make the long story short, RIDEAL has a database with geographical information, times, criteria, etc., and a data analytics function that allows us to analyze and to store every calculation that has been made in terms of incentives to understand how the users are really behaving. This allows us to understand this specific behaving by user type, by geographical area, at specific time, everything in line with the GDPR requirements. Right, Carola, we need to end. You have to finish. Well, yeah, if you are interested in our solutions, you can get in touch with us, and it will be a great pleasure to talk to you and to transform mobility towards a more sustainable reality. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much, Carola. And now we give the floor to our next speaker. That is Gregorio Terrell, who's the CEO of CycleGreen, that will tackle gamification and mobile technologies to foster sustainable transport. Thank you very much. Egunon, good morning. From CycleGreen, we foster sustainable mobility, helping companies design their own platforms and to foster this with incentives, and we do this to solve this problem. Many people go to work by car, one employee, one car, and this means stress, but more CO2 emissions. That is the main cause of the climate change, more pollution on the air that kills many people. And companies feel part of this problem. Regulation is pressing them for the companies to take part and to manage this plan. But they find three main barriers. First of all, what is a transport plan to go to work? So we need to change habits, right? The mobility habits, because employees are really used to go to work by car, and there's a lack of mobility data in order to be able to report and to fulfill the new regulations. From CycleGreen, we help companies beat these barriers. We help them develop a transport plan that allows people to solve, for example, the lack of car park places, and we follow a methodology that allows us to build a transport plan in less than 3 months using digital tools that will be focused on communicating this transport plan so that all the full organization is involved, and we will allow the follow-up of the most important KPIs. We split this in 6 stages, and we start by a communication campaign in the company. We take data in an agile way using digital tools and incentives, both from the work centers and the mobility of the employees, always in an anonymous way. We will characterize the mobility of the company when we will communicate that first diagnosis to the staff, and we will define actions, indicators, and a control panel for its follow-up. And this is all included in a document that is easy to understand and to communicate for the company. And after we've defined these actions, we have the great challenge of changing. We need to make this into a real changing tool in the company, where we're going to use incentive programs that are specific for every company, launching mobility challenges to the employees that will receive prizes for moving in a sustainable way to go to work. So how do these incentives programs work? The employees will only have to download a corporate app to register their sustainable trips, to earn points and to redeem them by points, for example, at different shops, or even they could win an electrical bicycle. That's a great motivation, and we are starting to change that habit. That is the car sharing, and it has a great impact on emission reduction. But we want the company to work towards this directions, and we want them to have every benefit that entails this change in terms of corporate sustainability, fostering bicycle and walking, reducing emissions, the alignment with SDGs, and the fulfillment of the regulation. Maybe you know the energy sustainability law that makes every company to have this kind of plan before November 2022, and there are fines between up to 50,000 euros. We want to support them because regulation is pushing us, but it's pushing us towards a positive change, and we can make the company to go with this change. Many companies trust us, like the Calon, Fagor, Ulma, or Bats. And I would like to explain 2 success stories of these companies that you can see with the Ulma Group. Well, we've been working with them since 2017, fostering these sustainable trips. Employees have almost made 700,000 kilometers in a sustainable way. So 156,000 CO2 kilograms have not been emitted. And I am double with Fagor. We work with every branch, and since the beginning it has had a great media impact, and this favors this communication between companies and among companies so that they can join us. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias a ti.
Thank you very much, Gregorio. And I give the floor to Yoritze Gurruchaga, who is the business manager of Dinicon, who will speak about how counting and tracking allows us to move towards the new sustainable mobility trends. Yoritze. Good morning, everybody. So we're here to introduce the system counting system for bicycles, skates, and people with informative totems. Maybe you don't know what that is, but I'm sure that you've seen some. Dinicon is a national company, an international company. We've been doing this for 20 years, and we offer different solutions. Every solution is focused on smart cities and smart mobility, and almost every solution, in the end, is aimed at helping citizens have a better quality of life. We would say that we have up to 3 verticals. The first one would be about counting people and vehicles, that is called Dinicon. We have the Dinipark topic, and we work on smart car parks and monitoring urban ways in order to be able to have different results, and Dinitrack through monitoring both users and vehicles. We can identify different routes and different movement behaviors. Today I'm going to introduce the Dinicon solution. So with your permission, in Bilbao, if you've been at one of the most beautiful cities in the world, San Sebastian, maybe I'm sure that you've seen this. This is the one that we have in San Sebastian, but we have this in other cities like Valladolid, Sant Cugat, Girona, Irún, or Santander. I'm going to explain very briefly what the solution is at software and hardware level without deep diving in it. What we do with these totems and the hardware that we do with sensors is to identify people that are passing by, both people and bicycles and skates. And what we usually add to this totem are spires on the road that maybe you've seen, some kind of squares, or for example, diamonds that are collecting information from bicycles too. So we send this information independently. Sometimes we don't need any electrical connection because we use solar panels, and we send it to our server, to the cloud. So in this cloud we process every piece of data and we operate them according to our customer, no matter it's a city council, a private company, etc. So some of the examples are, well, through graphs we make decisions, and now with the problem that we have with this seating capacity, for example, we use this, and even the seating capacity is full, there would be a warning that would say that nobody else could enter. With the Dinicon solution, we've integrated this with different smart city solutions. There are platforms that have been already created to smart city, and we integrate our data with these platforms. We have 6 people R&D team, and we develop all these solutions in our headquarters, and we are willing to create a new integration and a specific solution depending on the customer that we have. This is one of the last cases that we've had in Valladolid, where we have introduced a totem. Can you hear me? Yeah. We have a totem and we have some spires at the bike road, and with the information that we collect, we can show how this this road is being used, both in terms of people and bicycles. What we use to count people, we use a sensor, and well, we've changed these sensors. We've been working with this sensor for 20 years. It's a German sensor that gives us 95% of accuracy. What they usually require is 90, 92, 93, and this minimum gives us 95% in the worst case scenario. So basically with this sensor, we collect images from people that are analyzed, and with that we count them. The images discriminate both gender and children or older people, etc. This would be one of the images that the totem can show. As I'm saying, it's totally customizable, and we can change everything. This one is at the La Concha beach, and we can see number of people, number of bikes, and a monthly graph of every person that goes by. We can introduce the weather information or the agenda, for example, of the city events, etc. The most basic totems come from a small screen where you just can see the information, and the most modern ones, where you can interact. I mean, the user can interact with a touch screen. It has loudspeakers, or in some cases, you can even buy any kind of ticket. These are quite basic totems in Sant Cugat, Valladolid, and San Sebastian. And as you can see, on every single totem, you can find information about bikes and people. What about the advantages? Well, it has been socially approved. People like it. They take pictures, and it's really beautiful and it's eye-catching. And for the city councils, it seems that they are betting on sustainability. It's something very visual, and people are thankful for that. We receive many pieces of information about people, traffic, and that are being operated by city councils to say, where are we going to put a lane? Maybe we could remove this, maybe we can add this one, etc. And as everything happens, everything is around having a more sustainable city. So all these data helps us make these decisions so that we can base these solutions on data. And I would like to highlight that during the first quarter of 2022, we are working on a recharging idea for electrical vehicles, so that from a cell phone, from an app, they can book their car park place to go there to recharge them. Well, I will be around. We would like to talk to other companies to integrate, and I hope that it has been interesting for you. Thank you.
Eskerrik asko.
Eskerrik asko, Yoritz. Now we have Martí Joffre, who is the CEO of the company Nemi, and he will speak about the social potential of public buses services. Martí, you have the floor. Egunon, good morning. I'm going to introduce Nemi, a tool that allows the transport operators manage their services in a flexible way. We are speaking about solving the need of accessibility in rural or low-demand areas. This would be one example. This place has a good connection with Barcelona, but everything that has to do with internal mobility, well, it's a mountain area. It's difficult to be able to have a public transport because of the low demand, and tools that allow them to fit the services with the real needs allow us to offer more efficient service and to have a higher coverage. What we offer is a service that allows us to digitalize the full reserve, not only through a mobile app, but also through calls. We think that these services are offered in areas where there are elderly people that have difficulties to access the digital world, and we offer a tool that allows us either to digitalize the service, or some parts of the service could be more flexible and could be useful if there are needs in that slot. This could be applicable not only for public transport, but we are also serving some industrial areas with corporate mobility, school service, or other type of service. For example, in the night bus, with a much more dense stop network in order to optimize passenger safety both in origin and destination. And it could only be used if there's a request. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's it. This is how we present a service, the one that we are using in Barcelona, for example. You can see this stops, and the user will book the ones that are more convenient during the service hours. The booking process can be done via cell phone or via our app, either through map or through list of stops in origin and destination. We can choose the hour where we want to arrive or where we want to leave, and we set the approximate passing time. This could change because this is on demand, and we always work with assumable margins, and as the time arrives, we reduce that uncertainty so that before starting the service, we always inform through a mobile notification or through a call when the bus is going to be there. So this is the back office where we design the service and where we can set up the route based on the requests that have been received. And obviously, this is conveyed to the driver that has a tablet, and every expedition changes its way, of course. So in some cases, a regular line would be really expensive, but we have the possibility of adding more resources and steps, and it could have more certainty regarding the passenger, because in the end we are avoiding empty travel, so to speak. Regarding the operators, it allows them to increase that availability and every variable cost that this service entails. We are optimizing the path so that we can have as many people as possible in the same vehicle, so we are reducing the maintenance costs, the emissions that are linked to these empty travels, etc. And it's a way of knowing demand. We've found some cases where we have seen different services, where we've seen if the service was viable or not, and if he can continue or if it has to be cancelled. It has been consolidated as a flexible line, and in some cases as a regular line if we have enough demand. So, sorry, this is a map in Catalonia. This is where we have the vast majority of these services would have liked to have a map of the Basque country and other places of Spain. So this would be an example. Well, this is close to the province of Gerona, that has been working in a stable way with some difficulties during the COVID, but now it is systematically growing. We are around 50 or 60 passengers a day by service. This is the metropolitan area of Barcelona. It's well connected with Barcelona with public transport, but the access to that bus is very difficult because of the orography. So we are offering this service to go to from the suburbs to the downtown to access the basic services. So there's another example, Tarrasa, with a regular line, and in the valley hours, it goes on demand. We have different services, different lines that give the possibility of booking by demand, and we are trying to have as many passengers as possible in a service. And what I was saying, the corporate bus, and we drop every employee at their different companies. And what impact has it had? Well, many people that didn't have a service, now they have this possibility of public service. An impact in my millage reduction and the maintenance cost. Every variable in the service that can be used. And the CO2 of these empty trips that we were saying before. And if you're interested, it's a very quick service to be implemented, and in less than 1 week we can be operational. And that's it. Sorry for the gender perspective, and we are improving the imbalance. So if we have female candidates interested on the service, it would be great that you could join our company. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Martí. Damos paso.
Thank you, Martín. Now we give the floor to Juan Carlos Ausín, CEO and founder of Inventa Energía, who's going to speak about the impact of the maintenance costs in autonomy of an electric bicycle fleet, a shared fleet. Juan Carlos? Good morning. I belong to Inventa Energía, and I want to present our proposal in order to have a more efficient mobility through the use of electrical traction system, vehicles or last-mile vehicles, because it's proven that the most efficient way to go from point A to point B is bike. And countries like the Netherlands, France, Germany know this. We are increasingly seeing this in Spain now. So the electrical bike is here to stay. I'm sorry to tell you that the traffic jams of combustion vehicles in 2020 will be exactly the same with electrical vehicles in 2030. Electric bikes are here to stay, if we can see. Yeah, it's here to stay. Why? Because it offers the possibility of increasing the number of users. It offers the possibility to old people, people that are not fit, or if you don't want to sweat, I mean, you can use a bicycle to move in the city, and it's here to say that the evidence is that in Europe, it's expected that for 2030, there are around 38 million of bicycles manufactured. That multiplies this by 4. Right now, the manufacturers are trying to grow in order to provide what the users need. And in this environment of great growth, great competition, manufacturers will need to make a difference. The users need to know what bicycle they're going to buy. If we're going to use the bicycle to go to work, we will need something much more advanced, something much more sophisticated. We will be more demanding with the vehicle, and the manufacturers have to differentiate. And it's here where we take a step. We've created Move Drive technology in order to develop electrical traction system that fit the needs of the vehicles. We come from the renewable energy sector, and we have come to the mobility electrical mobility world because we think that many solutions can be extrapolated. So we have many good companies, like for example Bosch, Brose. These engines are the different pedals, or even we have companies from China, for example, or for low range. And there's a great bunch of solutions in a very competitive market with the manufacturers, but 99% of all these engines have this. This is a multiplier that is able to create a very small electrical engine inside the engine. This has many advantages. You can put the engine in the middle of the bike, but you have wearing problems, maintenance, etc. But in the end, if you're going through the mountains with the bike, you are listening to the birds, the rivers. If you are going with that electrical bike, you use that buzz sound, the buzz, and this comes from the engine. So our proposal is about developing a traction system, an engine that gets rid of these gears. And we had a totally silent solution, powerful solution, and it was able to regenerate. We were able to create energy during when we were going down a slope and when we were braking with the bicycle. So we introduced a new solution. If you put direct drive on Google, you find 400 designs of different engines that you can interact with. This already exists. The question is, why don't we see these in bicycles? They are not very efficient. They are not useful to go up slopes, etc. And they have the best relationship between the weight and the motor torque that allows us to go up any slope that the city has. And we were using the regeneration mode. This allows us to create energy when we're going down and when we brake. Depends on how many slopes we have in the city, but we can increase the autonomy up to 60%. We're able to enlarge the capacity of our battery. We have created a solution for foldable bicycles, or even for cargo bicycles, the ones that have to transport different merchandise, and this gives a lot of possibilities. Sometimes they are using bigger batteries, or they have 2 batteries in bicycles. We want to do this from the engine. So it would be about increasing the amounts of the kilometers that we could do. So there are operators that need to change the bicycles frequently. So this way we are able to have a more efficient maintenance work. We are able to reduce the maintenance times, and we are able to reduce the maintenance costs of the public fleet. Same happens with the cargo bike system. So brakings are really energetic. There's a lot of energy that is created. So with our regenerative mode, you are able to take advantage of this energy and to have bigger delivering routes. And the route is more efficient and better. We have presented our products at Eurobike in Germany with a very good, a very warm welcome, and we are trying to develop a demonstrator in a public fleet where we can show the world that we are able to reduce the maintenance costs thanks to the efficiency of this engine. So if there's anybody interested on this, it will be great to collaborate. Thank you for your attention, and we are Move Drive Technology, and if you have any questions, please feel free. Thank you.
Eskerrik asko, Juan Carlos, y llegamos.
Thank you, Juan Carlos. And we come to the last intervention that will be by Dani Ruiz. He is the co-founder and manager of Cheetah. And he's going to speak about the impact in urban distribution of cargo from micro hubs using cargo bikes and tricycles. So thank you very much for the introduction, Fernando. I come from the most beautiful city in the world, that's San Sebastian. Well, our name comes from chirrinda and taxi, and if we combine both words together, this is the name that we have. We have been working for 15 years, and we've been including different business lines in order to survive. We are working in the logistics world because, well, the logistics world can be really sometimes a little bit unpleasant because sometimes we don't have the vehicles that we would need because the situation doesn't allow us to. And although we are focusing on the last mile distribution, it's clear that it has to come with other measures. First of all, we have the use of bikes. We think that in education, and this happens in school centers, well, education is key, so that in the future more people are using bikes. At the same time, we believe that the events that are done from municipalities have to be conceived for all audiences, and this is one of the services that we provide, organizing events linked to the cycling and urban mobility. We think that tricycles are much more useful besides just delivering packages. We could have a tricycle with a food truck, and we thought that we could be tricycle manufacturers, and this is what we did. We manufactured these tricycles, but we stopped doing that because if we want to do many things, we can't focus on a specific thing, and we tried to focus on operators. Anyway, we sold tricycles to many cities in Spain for different uses or users. And 2016 arrived, and in 2016, San Sebastian was the cultural capital in Europe, and they proposed us to do these routes by tricycle. We came from Romania, from Russia, Copenhagen, south of Greece, and south of Spain. 3 or 4 routes that went to San Sebastian, and in 3 months and a half, they did all this, and we did it in cargo bikes. First of all, we were able to be empowered. And when they ask us if it's possible to go from a neighborhood to another one in cargo bikes, it's like, hey, we've come here from Russia. We can't go from a neighborhood to another. But something that gave us the possibility is to know a project that is called Cycling Without Age. And this is about reaching old people that are at different old residences. Sometimes nursing homes or old people's homes are far away from downtown, and there are people that have been ages without eating a pincho, without seeing their neighborhood, or without seeing the sea. In the case of San Sebastian, we've been pivoting with the use of different vehicles and tricycles in order to foster our main activity, that is the last mile delivery. The most important thing has been to build a human team. Without a human team, this doesn't work, because as I was telling you, it's a very unpleasant sector where we need the team, and we need to make the best out of them. So you shouldn't imagine that typical bike with a bag like New York going between the cars. No, we deliver much bigger packages. What we do is to receive the cargo in our place. This is where you can see the previous picture, and having the maps on the ground, we put the packages exactly where they are going, like a big Google Maps. And sometimes that many companies don't do is to consolidate the cargo. This means that when the cargo arrives of these customers, we bring it all together. So if we are, for example, at a specific road, we are not moving every package. We do it more efficiently. Although these vehicles do not pollute, we think that we need to take care of our city. And if that's a pedestrian way, the less times that we go there, the better. So tricycles are evolving a lot, but we have a great disadvantage. One of them is that we can go maximum with 250 watts. That's the same power that any electrical bike uses. Our tricycles weight 90 kilos. We can have 200 kilos of cargo, and plus the driver, it would be 350 kilos. 350 kilos, it can't be supported by an engine that is conceived for a 30 kilos bike. That's a standard bike and its driver. In Spain, one of the things that's lagging behind is regulation. For example, as you can see on the bottom, the trailer is illegal. It can't be used, and in some cases it can't be more than 90 centimeters wide, or to have more than one kid on a bike. That's not allowed to. So we think that times have to change, and we think that we are being apprentices, and we are pivoting within all these needs that have to be covered, with the goal of helping other cities make it possible, because we see that there will be urban changes, and there's a change in the buying habits that are, online sales are increasing, and we are not speaking about climate change anymore. We're speaking about climate crisis. We can solve a great part of this problem, but we need some things to change. One of them is that when people click on something, they should know what's the effect of this click. They should understand that it entails a transport to their homes that is not efficient, and we are trying to solve these disadvantages of having so many people that are buying online, and they think that they are not polluting because of this. So our goal is to help any city, any company that would like to have a similar challenge accomplish replacing vans by tricycles and cargo vehicles, but because in San Sebastian we've been able to do it, and we hope that many other companies join us. Thank you, and see you soon.
Eskerrik asko, Dani.
Eskerrik asko. We have 1 minute for a question, if there's someone that wants to ask anything. On streaming too, I don't know if we could have questions on streaming. Yeah, I do have a question, a very brief question for Andy that has been the last one. You've said that you've consolidated the cargo from different operators. It has been a difficult process with barriers. Well, very briefly, how have you gone through this evolution? Well, first thing that we needed was customers to trust us. Of course, luckily we've been able to have this trust. And in 2010, when we started to deliver, we went to DHL, and they laughed at us. Now it's not the case at all. They are one of our best customers. If there's someone from DHL, they saw us as aliens. So we wanted to prove that tricycle can be very useful and many vans can be replaced. We can speak about technical assistance. We have technical assistance for lifts, refrigerators at the bars. People are using small cars with a couple of tools when they could go with a cargo bike. So answering the question, what has been difficult has been to prove that we could replace many vans, and not only for that delivery process, but also for many other things in our cities. Because one of the things that happens is that it seems that the electric vehicle is going to solve everything, and that's not the case at all. As they were saying previously, the disaster is the same. And on the roads, instead of having a fuel cars, will have electric vehicles, and that's not helpful. So what we are doing is to gospel the sector and the city councils so that they can give some room for these vehicles. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Well, we've gone through different solutions, and I've noted down some remarks. What is very clear to me is that there are two sides: a very technological one, the mobility sector, sustainable mobility that has been highly digitalized. Many solutions are based on platforms, and these platforms are interactive with the user. And specifically, they are trying to give a much more efficient and personalized service. That's the key, to try to customize that service. It could be a person, an administration, whatever, and that's the key. And the operation, we have, for example, transport on demand, the efficiency that vehicles have. We need to keep on using our models or our usual transport, but improving it, creating new models. Okay, so I would like to say thank you first of all to the speakers. Your statements have been really interesting. I hope that the audience has enjoyed it, and now you can get in touch with them if you have any questions. And I would like to say thank you to SUM Bilbao for trusting on the cluster to organize this Pechacucha session. Eskerrik asko, thank you very much.